2026 NBA draft is going to be a defining moment for the Chicago Bulls. Not only will it be the first draft pick of whoever ends up being the Bulls' new head of basketball operations, it's also a deep draft with the Bulls having 2 picks that are going to end up being in the top 15. The new round of mock drafts have come out, and we're going to start our heavy draft coverage by going through the mock drafts and who they have the Bulls selecting at number 9 and number 15. We're going to talk about all that plus more right after this. What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host here, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. And I want to start talking and looking at the draft landscape. I want to take a look at who these mock drafts have the Bulls selecting right now, right? So this is kind of how the way that we start the heavy part of the draft coverage is that we want to look at the mocks, and we'll probably do this maybe 2 more times between now and the actual draft. For those that don't know, the draft lottery is going down on May 10th, which is only basically 2 weeks away, 2.5 weeks away. That same day, on May 10th through May 17th, is when the draft combine starts. That's when we'll start having a lot of tricklings about who the Bulls are bringing in for one-on-one workouts or meetings over that draft combine portion. Then we don't have the actual draft towards the end of June. I believe June 22nd is the actual draft. But we got to get through those things first to see what happens. The Bulls right now don't have a head coach. They don't have a GM. They don't have a president of basketball operations in place to even make those decisions. So I think it's really important for the Bulls to kind of get that going in the right direction. But with that said, I want to look at who each of these mocks, the major mock drafts, have the Chicago Bulls selecting. So we're going to start off with NBADraft.net and Takeathon. Both have the Chicago Bulls drafting guard Mikel Brown. He's 6'4", 190 pounds. When you look at what he did over 2025-26, he played 21 games, averaged 18 points per game, shot 41% from the field, 34% from three-point range, 84% from the free throw line. He also averaged 4.7 assists, 3.3 rebounds, and 1.2 steals per game. Mikel Brown is an interesting one to have going to the Chicago Bulls, right? Whereas I think the guards that are projected to go in that 7, 8, 9 area, the one that I like the best for the Bulls is Brayden Burries, or of course Keaton Wagler. As a scorer, I just love Keaton Wagler and the potential that he has. But Brayden Burries has a lot of potential defensively. We'll talk about him more in a second. But Mikel Brown is just one of those guys who's a quick, shifty guard. Some of the comps that he's been given is actually to like Zach LaVine in some of these draft places is some of the draft comps he's getting. Had a 45-point performance against North Carolina where he went 10 of 16 from 3, despite only shooting, averaging 2 of 7 from 3 over the course of the season, so about 34%. Many believe that those numbers are very short of what he's actually going to be capable of at the NBA level. We're going to have to see that. He does have a really good touch from outside. He's really a good pure shooter in that case. The question becomes about it, the inconsistency sometime, his ability to create off the dribble. We're going to see for that as well. I do think he's one of those kind of modern guards that is point guard size, but is more of a scoring guard. So the question is that would be a fit next to Josh Giddey. Not to say that whoever takes over and is making this decision may not even look at it as who fits next to Josh Giddey. Could just be looking at it as best player available and figure out the rest later. So, look at that when it comes down to it. But, him coming off screens, those type of things, pull-up shooting off those screens in the mid-range is pretty decent as well. I like Mikel Brown. I don't know if I love Mikel Brown as a prospect, but, shout out to my boy Vaughn who asked me to kind of go a little bit deeper into Mikel Brown, and his prospect status. And I do like him a little bit more than I initially did. It's just that I have guys I like ahead of him, right? Keaton Wagler, Brayden Burries, of course, Darius Cuff, but, we don't know if he's even going to be there for the Chicago Bulls. The question becomes about if those guys are off, if Darius Cuff, Keaton Wagler, and let's say Brayden Burries are all off the board, will the Bulls go Mikel Brown or will they go Kingston Flemings? That's the thing that you have to ask yourself in regards to it. And we'll see. It does, they say that it's kind of a similar scenario to Michael Porter Jr. with his health and stuff like that. He is looked at as a bit of a gamble because of the back injury and concerns. And we know how it goes with the Bulls drafting players already with injuries, but, we'll see what happens to them. But Mikel Brown for Tankathon and NBADraft.net, that's who they have the Chicago Bulls drafting. Next up, the next place we're going to go is ESPN, but I do want to mark this. ESPN has not updated their mock draft since March 11th, so they are a little bit behind. But ESPN and USA Today both have the Chicago Bulls drafting Nate Ament. Now, this is a guy that we've talked heavily about before. He does kind of fit the mold of what AK was drafting before. Luckily, we're going to be off that hopefully with the new GM. But there's no doubt that he does have tons of potential. I think when you look at the potential of him and Modest being your kind of forward duo, Nate Ament is stronger defensively, whereas Modest is stronger offensively. Not to say that Modest hasn't taken steps, defensively as well. You hope that Nate Ament's going to be able to do that also. He did average 17 points, 6.4 rebounds, 2.4 assists in 29 games. He himself injured his right leg against Alabama on February 28th. He never really returned at that point, but it is a guy that, in conference play looked really good, right? It's really good when it came down to that. And he has tons of defensive versatility. What you're looking at Nate Ament is just what he adds as one of those switchable defenders that may be able, when it's all said and done, to guard 1 through 4. The offense is simplistic right now, but there's still game there offensively. I don't want to make it seem like he's not an offensive weapon. He isn't. He has, especially in transition, finishing around the rim, those type of things are really good. Will he ever be able to create for himself? That's one of the biggest questions with Nate Ament, but we'll see how that goes as time goes on as well. But ESPN, USA Today have the Chicago Bulls drafting forward Nate Ament. Where's his fit long term? And I don't even mean like, is he going to be a 4? Is he going to be more of a 3? The length that he has is really good. You like that when it comes down to it. We did clear our roster in the trade deadline, so best player available is probably going to be the approach. That could be Nate Ament when it's all said and done. Next up, Bleacher Report has the Bulls drafting Brayden Burries out of Arizona, 6'4", 205 pounds. One of the pro comps for him is think kind of Derek White, right? And I like that comp for him a lot because I do see the similarities in their game. I think this, though, Derek White is a player that notoriously most of his offense is created for him, right? There's so much of his offense that is generated off assists. I think the last time I checked, almost 80% of his shots come off assists, right? And Brayden Burries, you don't really have to worry about that. Brayden Burries can create his own shot. That's the part that makes the separation there between that and the comp of Derek White. We know defensively what he brings to the game. He is a true two-way player and would bring a added dynamic that this Bulls team has been missing in the starting lineup for a while. That is a true two-way player. Even with like Trey Jones and the offense and the defense that Trey Jones brings, his offense can be sometimey, and Trey Jones has a habit sometimes of passing up shots because he's not like the best knockdown three-point shooter. Brayden Burries is a guy that, I won't say is like the uber creative, but he can create his own shot. He can shoot the 3-ball. He can create his own shot in the mid-range as well. Coming off ball screens is really good for him. He gets downhill and shoots in the mid-range pretty well, right? So when he attacks closeouts in space in transition, man, he understands how to use his frame and stuff really well, right? So I think when it comes down to it, I think the upside of Brayden Burries is really good, right? The thing that is a knock for him is that he's not the best playmaker for others. And if he were to come to the Bulls, until we know otherwise, Josh Giddey is going to be here and he's going to be able to create. So while it's not the most seamless fit, that I think I could see Brayden Burries and Josh Giddey working as a backcourt. And I don't mind that at all. I actually see them complementing each other pretty well as a backcourt. So take that for what you will. I think that he has a really good game, a really good two-way ability, and he's the type of player that is just very consistent. Even when his shot's not falling, he's going to be able to give you really high defense. He's going to be able to create scoring opportunities. He's going to be able to start the fast break with how he gets in passing lanes. Brayden Burries is one of my favorite prospects in this draft around the areas that the Bulls are expected to draft. Now, the next mock that we have to talk about is Yahoo Sports. Now, Yahoo Sports did it a little differently than others. They actually ran a mock for the lottery, right? So that, we don't know exactly the order of the top 14. And in their mock, the Chicago Bulls are actually picking number 1 overall. And they have the Bulls drafting AJ Debonta. And you guys know, this is the guy that I would absolutely love for the Bulls to draft if they get the number 1 overall pick. If you can walk away with AJ in this draft, it does so much for the future and the prospect of what you have. You talk about somebody who can do every single thing offensively that you want him to do, period. Average 25.5 points, in the nation, in college basketball. The size that he has is 6'9", is really good, right? He has that athletic bounce with also the refinement. And when this guy gets on fire offensively, it is very hard to stop him. Defensively, he has shown and taken steps defensively. I think that AJ Debonta, with the level of competitor that he is, when he gets an opportunity and realizes in the league, hey, I'm going to have to stop these motherfuckers from cooking me, I love to see that from him. I think this guy really is a good passer. He's shown really good progress as a passer. His cross-court passes have gotten better and better as things go on. I think when it comes down to it, AJ Debonta is just the player. If you wanted to bet on your franchise on a guy that's going to come in, change the tone, change the direction, all that type of stuff, AJ Debonta is that guy that I'd be willing to do that for the Chicago Bulls. He has so much upside, it's absolutely ridiculous. Next up, no ceilings, and this is the last for pick number 9. They have the Chicago Bulls drafting Aday Mara. Now, shout out to the growth that Aday Mara has had, right? Somebody who was initially projected to go more towards the end of the lottery to maybe even falling out of the lottery has now worked himself up where most places have him almost unanimously as a top 10 pick. So shout out to Aday Mara in that one. And the thing that is going to stand out to you about him, size. 7'3", 255 pounds. Also has the frame to put on more weight. 12 points per game, 6.8 rebounds, 2.5 assists, 2.6 blocks as well. You talk about the ability to block shots, rim protect, be a lob threat. He's able to do that right away, right? The questions with Aday Mara becomes about his footwork, right? Those type of things. Is he going to be able to switch at all at the NBA level? How much does the foot speed or the lack thereof that he has harpens him from doing some of the things he was strong at in college basketball? That's definitely what you look at there. When you look at like him bringing a dynamic that the Bulls are missing. He's only 21 years old as well. I love that. There's some conditioning concerns with Aday Mara, though, right? Played only 23 minutes per game. The NBA, with the modern pace of the NBA, some are worried about how he'll adjust conditioning-wise. But, it may be fine, right? We'll end up seeing what happens there. If he grows in that conditioning, almost, things are going to be a little bit more simple for him. I don't know if he ever is going to have the kind of those advanced back to the basket moves. He's also a solid passer. So, we'll see what happens there. I wouldn't be mad if the Bulls draft Aday Mara at number 9. It's just, I worry if there are going to be some guys with better long-term upside. But hey, it's not about my thoughts at this point. It's more so about the mock drafts and who they have the Bulls drafting. So that is who the mocks have the Bulls drafting at number 9 or with their first-round pick in the case of Yahoo Sports. Let's now switch it and look at number 15, right? Where do the mocks have the Bulls going at number 15? Well, no ceilings and take-a-thon have the Chicago Bulls drafting Kareem Lopez, 6'8", 220-pound forward, averaged 12 points per game, 6 rebounds, 1.9 assists, 1.2 steals, and a block per game. Love the stocks there. Love what he's able to average his stocks. This is a guy that I think when you look at it, when it comes down to it, how much is he going to be able to evolve at the next level is a huge question there, right? We've seen him average 16.7 points per game and stuff like that before over a stretch, but now it comes down to at having 6'7", 225 pounds, this is a guy that already has what many consider an NBA-ready frame, the defense that he has as well, right? He has 13 half-court dunks, which really in transition, that's going to be where he thrives at. And in this team, depending on how the shooting, the style changes, could be very beneficial, right? He's still developing his shooting profile as well. Nearly 40%, he's shooting 40% on catch and shoot threes, which is really good. 36% on spot ups, taking those shots. So he's not going to be a primary creator, but this is a guy that definitely can do something. 1.2 assist to turnover ratio as well, which really looks good for him also. So I think this is a guy that's going to be a high energy two-way player and that he can fit alongside some other people really well. So let's just say, like, if you look at it in the Bulls draft Aday Mara at number 9 and let's say Kareem Lopez at number 15, the Bulls are walking away with some two-way play there, some really good functional defense, adding that to a team that's been lacking it. I'm not too mad at that at all, right? So I really like that also. NBA Draft.net has the Chicago Bulls drafting Cameron Carr, the 6'5", point guard, a shooting guard / small forward out of Tennessee. He's only 190 pounds, right? You're starting to see like that 190 range for wings is starting to see where you're starting to see a lot of people be at, coming out of college. How much weight can he add to his frame, right? That's one of the things, is it? But he had a really solid breakout season. He averaged 18.9 points per game on 49% shooting from the field, 37% shooting from three, 80% shooting from free throw with 5.8 rebounds, 2.6 assists, 1.3 blocks per game as well. Cameron Carr is a guy that you look at and you could say, hey, where some of the other guards, if you do go big early like Aday Mara and you get Cameron Carr as a guard / wing later on, I don't know if I hate that. Right now, he is going to be more of a project, right? He's still going to grow. He's going to have to add strength. He's going to have to get toughness to deal with the NBA better. That's just the thing with it. The 2.4 turnovers per game that he averages do kind of stand out as something that he needs to work on. But the potential-wise, Cameron Carr has the potential of being a 3-and-D guy with really good catch-and-shoot numbers as well. The length, the athleticism, the finish, those type of things really look good. The development path for him is going to be a long one, but it's one that may be willing to buy to invest into, especially at pick number 15. So I like the guy. I think he would add some much needed athleticism, scoring, defense, and he could end up being a dynamic wing at the NBA level. I know that we don't talk about Noah Essengay a lot, right? But if Cameron Carr does work out and you go big like Aday Mara early in the draft, and you have a starting lineup of Josh Giddey, Cameron Carr, Modest Buzelis, Noah Essengay, Aday Mara, you have a lot of size. You have a lot of versatility. You have a lot of switchability in that as well. Now, I do think Cameron Carr is going to take more time to develop as that, but if he really does develop into this high volume, efficient perimeter scorer that it looked like he could be in college, and the defensive potential that he has, he may end up being the perfect backcourt mate to Josh Giddey. And so maybe you do get that. Cameron Carr is a guy we'll do a deeper dive into as well, but I really like the potential of Cameron Carr coming to this team. And like I said, he's a guy that has gotten the comps to Zach LaVine as well offensively, but with a much higher defensive upside. The thing that people always talk about, Zach LaVine has the potential to turn into a solid defender. Cameron Carr really does have that. With that length, I kind of like it. Now, the Bleacher Report has the Bulls drafting Jaden Quantance from Kentucky. Now, in the highlights, as you're going to see, I'm cutting highlights from Kentucky and from Arizona because he only played 4 games with Kentucky. 6'10", 255 pounds, really young when it came down to it. The question becomes, that torn ACL. How much is he able to recover from that? I have no doubt that Jaden would be a lottery pick if it wasn't for that injury. He would be in the lottery, right? And so the long-term ceiling for him is amazing. Like, I just want to be clear that the long-term ceiling for him is still there. It hasn't changed. When he's at full strength, he's a really good defensive prospect, really good shot blocking rate as well, lob threat, switchability, all those type of things. He has really good touch in the low post as well. I really like Jaden, and I think that he could be a player that you look back on in this draft and you're like, hey, you got a steal there because of the injuries and people doubted it. It's just, is he going to be able to stay healthy at the NBA level? That's a huge question for him there. We'll see how that's going to work. Yahoo Sports has the Bulls drafting Christian Anderson, the 6'3" guard out of Texas Tech. Now, this is really the only mock that I've ever seen have the Bulls go here, right? The thing when it comes down to it is that, he has some really, really solid potential, right? And I like Christian Anderson as well. He does struggle to create his own shot at times against NBA, level talent. So that small stature that he has there, I have some questions in regards to how that's going to look. He doesn't really get consistently to the rim either, right? So, I have some doubts around Christian Anderson and the fit here, and I just think they're going to be much better pieces around him. Now, I do want to say this. Like, his creation in the pick and roll is great. His knockdown perimeter shooter is really good, but I just wouldn't be surprised if Christian Anderson just ends up turning into a bench guard. I would not be surprised at that at all. Maybe that's a little harsh for me, but I wouldn't be surprised if that ends up being the case, but we'll see what the Bulls do and what the Bulls look at it. Lastly, USA Today has the Chicago Bulls drafting Synynic Jr. Now, you guys know this is my favorite pick at number 15 if he's on the board. I think that what he does as a guard with creation on ball, right? When he has that, his ability as a perimeter shooter, as a big as well. I don't want him turning into a heavy three-point shooter, but the fact that he has that in his game with his ability to put the ball on the court as a big is a dynamic that you just can't overlook when it comes down to it. He's going to take a little bit of development. He's going to have to add on some weight, but I think when you take a swing on the upside that he has there, man, this is a big guy, I think, for the Chicago Bulls. And I think if Synynic Jr. ends up working out, he has so much versatility as a modern big man that I can see him being a Bulls' favorite player and what he's going to have to do there. Sometimes his switchability, that he projects to have on the defensive side of the ball, I like that when it comes down to it. Lob threat, ability to create his own shot, I really like it when it comes down to it. And I think when you look at him, and if you have him and Modest on the floor together, I think it creates a lot of that same thing we saw with Jalen and Modest on the floor together, which was some of the Bulls' best minutes of this season. So we'll see what Synynic Jr. can potentially bring to the Chicago Bulls. But let me know what you guys think in regards to these guys and how they fit in with the Chicago Bulls, and which one of these, which combination of these players would you like to see and think would be a successful draft for the Chicago Bulls? The question when it comes for the Bulls draft, thought, and we don't know yet because we don't know who's going to be in that position, right, is how much are they going to be trying this draft for fit over just best player available? I think the best player available approach at both 9 and 15 are probably the best. Like, you want to think a fit a little bit, right? Like, we don't know exactly, and we won't know, right? But if the new GM comes in, and let's say he is head over heels, he does love the potential of Modest, you're still going to think about fit a little in there. If he does sit there and say, no, I rock with Josh Giddey, you're still going to be thinking about fit. But you still, I think where the Bulls are, they need so much talent. You want to go best player available approach. I just think that's the best thing to suit the Chicago Bulls at this point in time. Again, in my personal opinion, and when you look at the Bulls' biggest needs in the draft, we need rim protection. No shit. We need rim protection. We need a big of the future. We need that. A secondary scorer that can also be your offensive engine would be second on my list when it comes down to it. And then, of course, how do you maximize the playmaking of Josh Giddey if you feel like he is part of your long-term future? How do you maximize on that? Because, again, while Josh Giddey, started the season before injury, was averaging some pretty good points, we all know Josh Giddey can be more of a facilitator and playmaker, and he doesn't have to do as much offense, especially with the ability that he's shown now as a catch-and-shoot three-point shooter. I think that is kind of the best path forward for the Bulls going forward. So we'll see what happens in regards to that one. I think all of these mocks are pretty realistic in regards to what could fall for the Chicago Bulls. And then you complement that with 15. I think the Bulls have a perfect chance here to add some really damn good talent in this draft and help us move along in this rebuild period that we know that we're all trying to get over and look forward to. But that's going to do it for my episode today, man. Thank you guys for tuning in, man. Of course, we're hoping that everything in this offseason changes direction, but I got to ask you guys this. Who you taking at number 9? Who you taking at number 15? Drop your thoughts and picks down in the comment section below. Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel as well. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode. And you can follow us at Bull Central Pod on every social media platform. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. bullcentralpod@gmail.com. And lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related, but that is thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See you right if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.